sometimes I'm surprised that underneath all the garbage I pile left and right, there still is a desk. And next week, I will be over at a friend's place cat sitting her cats. To make the confusion even more complete, this said 1 week in the future lies now 2.5 months in the past. In between, I was in England, and now I'm back home again. But I will leave in roughly 1 month to go back to her place to cat sit again, which highly possible is the time when you will see this video. Because of that, I need something to do. And besides sewing pants for my brother, I decided I want to sew some dress ideas I had after seeing some fabrics that I then ordered. Some of them are already here, some are not. And I want to sketch out my ideas together with you. One of the first ones is a friend of mine had this ribbon wrapped around a gift she gave me 2 years ago by now. And I really liked the whole vibe of the dress and the whole, I immediately had to think of the Queen of Hearts from Alice in Wonderland. Don't ask me why, but that was my first idea. And now my idea is to use this ribbon to basically make the whole top out of it by sewing it together, but already trying to take into account the curves of the body. And then have basically the top out of this, a little bit more corset-esque. And the ribbon then widening, or the ribbon itself stays like that, but spreading out. And you have a very floofy-poofy tulle skirt in possibly black, red, and white. That's the idea so far. I'm not sure about sleeves. I'm not sure about anything else. I think I want to attach some mini chess figurines somewhere, possibly in between these. And I want to make a headpiece with a crown. That is what I know so far. But that is basically the first idea I have. The second one. I had this crown, or to be exact, 2 of them. One in, originally once it was silver and one in gold. And I did notice, or when I bought them, I wasn't sure if they would fit on the dolls, and I noticed, no, they won't. They are too big. So I took one and cut it down, which went quite well. But then I had this piece left. And I thought it looks quite cool and could be used as a necktie thingamajig piece. So this whole crown won't be a crown later. And I might already cut it into pieces now, or in a minute. But what I have in mind with this, my idea was to more or less stitch together a strapless gown where the bust area is a little bit ruffled, the underneath area, the stomach area, is more tight, and then you have a very poofy tulle skirt, and the metal piece works first of all as neck piece, and second of all as cuffs on the big poofy sleeves. Does that make sense? I think so. I'm not getting away from Temu. It's a shame, I know, but I found a fabric there that was perfect for something like that. It's a navy blue with golden stars, and moons, and it might be tacky, but I like tacky sometimes. And then to give her a brooch that will be here, I have this one. And as a last piece, I have a sun brooch that will arrive soon. And I think I want to add that somewhere here in the hair. So you have the night dress and the sun motif in the hair somewhere. So that these are the two dresses I know I want to do so far. I think I want to add a third, maybe a fourth, if I have the time. Because I, in the end, reacted to Nola, the second of the two, you will see. First one is Smarty, the second one is Nola. I had to lock myself in the upstairs guest room most of the time, so I only was able to finish 2 dresses. The other 2 you will see when I return next month. I hope this time it will get better. It might be hotter, but I can spend more time outdoors. Anyway, I have to admit Nola is one of the cutest cats I ever saw. She has some brain damage, I think. And because of that, she permanently lays her head to the side when she walks, which always looks like, "Excuse me, excuse me." She is basically the newest addition and a rescue, while Smarty, who is a rescue himself, but he is with Vanessa for over 10 years now. Gosh, we are getting old. To make clothes, what do you need? A pattern. Yes. I obviously took out my pattern book, traced the pattern I made, and I made that pattern in the usual way, which means sticking masking tape to my dolls. And yeah, from that base pattern I then made some alterations. I widened the neckline, made the shoulder seams a little bit smaller, and I stitched together a base piece on which I then could attach, or onto which I then could attach the ribbons after it was sewn together. In my initial sketch I had this back piece out of cards. I tried to copy them with a t-shirt film. Yeah, this piece didn't work. I left it in because I wanted to show you that I tried it, but it looked terrible. It didn't work. I threw it away afterwards. Bear with me here, it gets complicated. I did put the base piece onto her, which will later be the lining of the whole top. I then tried to pin fabric onto it, the ribbons onto it, which in theory worked, but not as good as I hoped. So I then tried to make pattern pieces to then pin it roughly in place, or yeah, pin darts, curves, whatever, roughly there where needed. And then I stitched piece by piece together until everything fitted her. It was a lot of finagling, a lot of back and forth. Then I did put her into this concoction that was at this point very adventurously sewn. Put the other thing on top, stitched around the whole outline, and surprisingly that worked. I then could flip it inside out, so she had a lined bodice that was fairly form-fitting. And I hope you at least understood a single word of what I was saying here. It was far more difficult to get a form-fitting piece than I thought. That's basically the gist of it. I think if I would recreate it now, I might stitch together a piece first that is as wide as the widest part, so the bust basically, pin it in place there and take in the seams more and more until it really fits. But even my very questionable attempt did work quite nicely. For her skirt, after cutting out a circle, I just gathered tulle into oblivion, threw it on there and stitched it in place. I tried to follow a bit of a pattern so that you have the white tulle in the front center, then going over to the red, then going over to the black in the back. And the lowest layer has a bit more red going into the back than the top layer, so it looks a little bit like a piece of fabric that gets a little bit smaller. I don't know how to explain it. That is slightly tapered, which didn't really work, but at least it gave me a bit of a gradient. When everything was sewn on, and I can't tell you how many meters of tulle I stitched on there, I had quite a lot. I then had to prop her up and stitch all of the layers down together, which is something I learned when I did the first tutu for a doll. So, yay, ballet. I at first was a little bit hesitant to embrace her ballet-like look, but in the end I decided, scrap it. It looks kind of cool. I then made a pattern for sleeves, and I wanted to have the sleeves basically split into parts. The top part that is ruffled, then a lower part that is a little bit poofed, and then you have the cuff, which is again the ribbon. I stitched that together onto a base layer again, so it's more or less lined, or it is lined, that when you slip in the arm of the doll, it can't be caught anywhere. And stitching those together and attaching them to the top layer made me realize how much it looks like a dirndl. Which isn't a bad thing in it on itself, but you will see now. As you can already see, I decided to not keep the ribbons floor length. I first thought it could look quite cool, but in theory it looked better than in reality. I shortened them to the hemline of the skirt, and then I used ribbons and more tulle to make basically a kind of train that can be attached to her back but can be very quickly removed, fully embracing the stage costume theme now. Because I thought, how cool is it if she would be a character playing the Queen of Hearts? When she comes onto the stage first, she has a long train that is then taken off by her card soldiers so she can dance. Anyway, the last bit I have to make, and I still have to make it, but you will see it in the final pictures later, is a headband to which I can attach the crown. In the pictures you will see now, I just put it on her head because I wanted to show that to my friends. I loved it. And I still do. But even though I liked this costume, it already was overshadowed by the first one I did, which obviously was the Starry Night dress. And oh my gosh, I don't think that Gwendolyn will ever wear anything else. While still at home, I prepared the pieces from the former crown to fit, as the neck piece and as the cuffs. And because I had a piece left, I thought, why not try to make something crown-esque, headpiece-esque. I used the very nice and stable metal piece that was that came with the crown to attach everything onto it, and used some golden chains and everything. And when I was done with everything, I wasn't quite sure if I really like it. I normally prefer more crown-like structures, and this has, I would say, a more oriental vibe. But gosh, in the end, I am loving it, and together with the dress, maybe you notice how happy I am about her finished look. Gosh, I'm so proud of her. As we already established, you need a pattern. And as I already said in the sketching phase, I knew that I wanted to make a strapless gown and use the metal piece as a necktie thing, a collar thing. So that was basically what I sketched. But I decided to make at least in the front, the top part in the bust area separate from the lower part, because I wanted to ruffle the fabric, to bunch it up, to make the bust look a little bit more full and elegant, and to have another detail there than just a flat-lined piece of cloth. And the lower part I did cut in multiple sections, so you have more or less a corseted look. And I even boned the whole part that is around the stomach area. So she basically wears a corset dress, which was quite easily achieved by melting the seam allowances together and just sticking some zip ties in there that I cut it to size. It is a fairly straightforward dress, but I think damn effective. After everything was stitched together, lined, and looked pretty, I then just took a square of fabric, bunched it together, and closed it in the back. That was all I did for the skirt. I did use a layer of the satin underneath to make it opaque, but for how pretty this dress turned out, it is shockingly simple. The last part that was in any way, shape or form maybe slightly difficult was stitching on the metal pieces into the right position so everything fitted, but otherwise it went quite well and quite fast and quite easy. It's already difficult to tell that because I think it sounds as if I want to brag. I'm very proud of this dress, I have to say. And with the sleeves attached, it looked even more regal and even more beautiful. And as I already said, Gwendolyn is the one wearing this, the one that I, in my head, think is a little bit more shy. And since I finished this dress, I didn't change her at all because I think that it looks so amazing, so regal, so beautiful. I'm so in love with the look. And I paired it, as you will see in a minute, with a grey wig and then the crown piece. And oh my gosh, she looks like a moon goddess. I love it. It ticks every box for me. And obviously now I'm really interested. What do you think about these two dresses? Do you think they are too tacky? Do you like them? Do you think they're horrible? What is your opinion? You already know that I love them. Yeah, but those were the two dresses I was able to finish while I was sitting at my friend's house. I hope this time I will get more than two dresses done. If I even do dresses, I might do something very different. Very different. Something slightly different. Let's say it this way. But yeah, I enjoy quite a lot to sew dresses for the 1 to 3 scale dolls, because you have more of the drape, how the fabric would drape in a regular size, and that is something I'm sometimes missing when I do 1/6 scale. Anyway, I hope you did enjoy this little dress journey and will survive getting another one. We will see us in another video. Have a great time, and until then, bye-bye.